Bava Metzia, page 105. We will start with 104b, 7 lines from the bottom of the page. Amrei Nahar De'ei. Here we have a discussion in regards to a partnership. It's another Imra, a statement from the sages of Nahar De'ah. Hai Iska. When a person's receive a merchandise in the low price in order to sell it elsewhere with a high price and divide in the profit, palga milve upalga pikadon. So half of that it's considered a loan and half it's a deposit. So that's basically a half that he's responsible if something happened. The other one is not. So sometimes the iska, the business, it's applied to the merchandise and not to the entire business. But he said, "Hashta de amrina palga milve ibai lemishte beishikra shapir dame." So you know what's going to happen? If you said that half of that is considered as a loan, if the a person wants to use it to buy alcohol, or in that sense to have the expenses of his personal needs, so he is have the option to do it because that's basically part of the loan agreement. Rava disagree. Rava amar le'achre karu le'iska. That's the reason why it's called some type of business deal or formulation of business transaction. The amar lei ki yavin alach la'asukei bei v'lo lemishtei bei shikra. When I gave you this money is in order to improve your life, improve yourself, making some business, and not that you should go and use it even for your life expenses. So, few points. The Kli Yakar, one of the commentators on the Torah, explains the whole issue of Heter Iska. It's when you have in every business a matter of loss and profit. That's the reality. But when a person makes money over the interest, he basically showed that he doesn't have a full faith in God. The Vilna Gaon said in Tehillim, King David mentioned, Tov lachasot b'Hashem. So it's better for a person to depend upon the Almighty. Mibtuach ba'adam. So it means even without speaking language, trusting God better than a person that expresses in his own words. So the Tzadikei Beit Lublin, the great righteous people of the city of Lublin, used to require to have always Heter Iska in every time you're dealing with any form of business. Reb Meir Arik agree with that. The others, like the Marish Engel and others, agree. But the late Reb Aram Kotler said no. You should have it independent, separate for those real business deals. So it's a discussion among the rabbis to this very day. The whole concept of Heter Iska, if the person, the merchant can purchase whatever he wishes to or not. There is a book called Brit Yehuda. He brings from the Harav Chaim. He says that sometimes people lend money with interest with that Heter Iska. So he said, the Harav Chaim mentioned that as a good thought. He said, we don't have the Beit HaMikdash, but if it was a time of the Holy Temple, people pay a lot to have their sin offering and other atonements, burn offering, in order to clear the path between them and the Almighty. But since the Torah tells us clearly that help another fellow Jew is the same as bringing a sacrificial offering, how much can a person should do to go extra way to help other people. So the whole idea of Heter Iska, it's the story about Chaim Briski used to say about the Chazon Ish that he never believed in Gehinom. So they asked him, what do you mean? They said he lived in the life of faith, which is he lived in a life of strong belief of Sachar ve'onish, that is a punishment and reward for every deed. So the concept is obviously, if you have to, you do it, but it's advisable and preferable to do a favor to other people, especially if it's a small amount, without going to all this notion of Heter Iska. אמר רבי דיבר רבין והיא מת, נעשה מטלטלין אצל בניו. He said, if the manager died, it became movable property in the possession of his children. So you see here that it may not taken from them as movable property inherited by orphans is linked to the payment of the father's debt. דאמת לא יעשה מטלטלין אצל בניו. אמר רב אחד העסקה ותרי שטרי, פסיידה דמלווה. Rava said if two people conducted the joint venture and drafted this, it's a separate venture of equal value in two separate documents, and they suffer a heavy loss from that journey, so they'll be determined of the lender. So the common agreement, they will gain half of the profits from the venue and suffer 2/3 of the loss of the others. The Maharsham, you see the same question in the book called Shoel V'Meishiv. He asks, when it's mechutan, when a person needs to borrow money in order to marry his children, etc., how you fulfill the concept of Heter Iska. The Heter Iska, it means that you have a business venture and you have two parties, but here it's only expense that he needs to pay for all the wedding and more. So we explained that without that money he will not be able to have the basic need of work. It's like lending money, even a small amount, for someone to just start something or do some work. It's basically the same as a regular business venture. You're helping someone, even a small loan, in order to start up something that hopefully will be able to have a self-support system. 105, if you have two joint ventures and both in one document, so it will be the determinant of the borrower. So here the way that they calculate the profit and the loss of two transactions together, and therefore the treatment is as long as the profit of one joint venture are greater than the losses of the others, the investor will not have to suffer the loss. That happened in the business world. People should understand that sometimes is a loss. So someone will receive merchandise in joint venture and lost. So he did not inform the investor that he'd done so, which again unfortunately happened. So it's basically said to him, look, you should carry with me a sum of the loss that I lost for the principal and take half of the loss, and what I gain you get only a third. Why? Because the one who have this merchandise can say to him, the reason that I continue to deal with all of this, it's in order that for people not embarrass you and call you a loser of ventures. So you wanted to preserve your reputation in order to improve your future business prospect, but did not intend to be reimbursed. So two people, they receive merchandise together as investor and a profit. So one said, come and divide the profit and terminate the venture. So what happened is, imagine, two people invested, we talk real estate, just use this as an example. And one guy said, I want to reinvest the money. The other guy said, no, let's split and I take my part, right? So the real rule is that the one who will say that if we reinvested, we gain more, he have the right to hold the profit. ואמר להב לי פר לגדרבך, אמר לרבך לקרן המשתעבד. If he said to him, give me half of the profits, so he can say to him, the profit is linked to the principal, meaning that the profit and the principal are considered a single unit. So you can earn much more if we do not set aside the profit. Again, we have to differentiate between a risky business and other businesses, because someone told me, you go to Vegas and you gain some money suddenly, you play poker or whatever it is, other wrong things that people does. So sometimes it's a false pretenses. You feel like you gain something and you reinvest it, and before you know it, you walk out with nothing, right? But versus in real estate, for example, when you gain money over investment and the partner want to reinvest, you have some rights to go ahead and reinvest it, because as many people said, real estate is real estate. Eventually, if you wait enough, it will gain money. והיא אמר להב לי פלגה רבך ופלגה קרנה. If you said give me half of the profit and half of the principal, אמר לי עסקה להדד משועבד. The merchandise for the joint venture is linked to both of us, as we are equal partner in this venue. והיא אמר לנפלוג רבך ונפלוג קרנה. If you said let us divide the profits and divide the principal, ואימת לך פסילה דרינה בעדך. If you have suffer a loss as a result, I'll bear the loss with you. אמר לה, לא, מזלה דביתרי עדיף. He said the lack of two people is better. Remember we talked earlier about בנה חי ומזוני, the Harav Chaim HaKadosh. That the idea is, there is a concept what Bnei Sachar said and others, when it's individual, it's different than the muzzle of the two. So it's like the lack of two people is better. So I want to continue working together. So the claim in all these cases, the second manager, the claims of the second manager are accepted. It's a famous story about the Hasidic Rebbe, the Rabbi Yitzchak ben Sora Shasher, Rabbi Yitzchak ben Barditchev. I assume that Mordechai know this story and Shia know, so we just repeat story that you already know. But for others, maybe it's a total new story. So it was a line of people that waiting to get a blessing from Rabbi Yitzchak. Because the two partners went there, and Rabbi Yitzchak wrote in a piece of paper, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, twice, in two pieces of paper, and gave to each partner. So they walk out, and they have no idea what he is doing. So they want to go back. The Shamis said, you don't go back. But they push hard, so they let him come back. So they ask the tzaddik, what's the purpose of this little paper, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet? So he explains, Aleph in Hebrew represents the word emet, meaning the truth. So if it's emet, then you have bet. Bet is bracha, meaning blessings. If you go by the truth partnership, you don't cheat each other, so you have a blessing. Then gimel, gneva, gzeila. If you are thieves, right, you cheated each other, you're not honest with each other. Dalet is dalut, meaning poverty. So that's the formula he gave to each of them to always remember the proper way to treat each other in order to make the business successful. Mishnah. Hamkabel sadeh mechavero. If someone received a property from another to cultivate, velo ratza lenakesh, did not want to weed it. Ve'amar lo ma ichpat lecha. And he said to the owner, what do you care if I neglect the land? You will not suffer a loss. Why? I will give you the amount of produce I owe you for you granting me a tenancy regardless to the state of the field. Ein shomim lo, you not listen to him. Why? Because the owner then said to him, he says, you know what's going to happen? Tomorrow you depart from the field and I'll grow weeds for me, which will remain there and disrupt the yield of the field in the years to come. So the Gemarrah said, I amar lebatara acher karim nalei, amar lechite yimei alta beina, vi amar lezabnia lachite mishuka, amar lechite de'ara beina, vi amar lemenakshina lachshua minatich, amar lekam lesabek shemra le'arai. So basically, any way you look at it, that's the way the Shulchan Aruch in Choshel Mishpat 320 said, one who accepted the field to cultivate and not want to weed it, if the local custom is to weed fields, he may not refuse to do so even if he prosper or he proposed to compensate the owner with good quality wheat. Now, the Gemarrah said, "Va'atnan mipnei shemalat lefanai asavim, ela mishum de'amar lebezra dinafal nafal." The seed that will fall has fallen. What you see here, even if cultivated labor, so say turns that he later plows the land and uproots all the weeds, the seed remain in the ground and will sprout in the following years. Next Mishnah, one who receive a field from another to cultivate and not produce a sufficient crop to cover the expense of its upkeep. So if it's enough to produce a form of pile, he's obligated to care of it, even if the owner is share. What is the fixed measure of pile? If it's the crop equivalent to the measure of seeds for dropping the field in order to sow it. So the Rambam in Ilchot Schiru chapter 8 said, one who received the field to cultivate and it failed to yield enough produce, if it produced 2 se'ah more than the cost of the field's upkeep, he must continue to care for work the field. That's also the Choshen Mishpat 3:28. Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan. Hamkabel sadeh mechaveiro, one who receives a field from another to cultivate it, velo asta, and unfortunately did not produce a sufficient crop. If it was enough produce to form a pile, he is obligated to take care of it, to provide the owner with his share. שכך כותב לו הנאוקים והגיר ועזרא וחצות והאמר והדוש והדרי והוקים קריה דקנמך. So it's spelled out in a contract that I'm responsible to all the process, plow, plant, reap, bind, thresh, window, establish a file before you. So he said, ותיתי אנט ותיטול פלגה ואנה בעמלים נפקות ידי פלגה. So each of the party take half. So the way that the contract spell out, if it's sufficient produce to form a pile, the cultivator must fulfill the terms of the agreement. וכמה כדי להמיר בקרי, what's the amount? אמר רבי יוסי ברבי חנין כדי שתעמוד בו הרחת. So for the winning shovel it's standard. So it's if the pile is big enough that the shovel can be placed there and stand independently without falling, so that's sufficient. אם בא לו רחת היוצא מהגיס או להאי מגיס המאי, if it's come the edges from one side the others, is that considered pile or not? תשמע אמר רבי אבאו לדידים פרשלי מנד רבי יוסי ברבי חנינא, כל שאין כונס רואה פני החמה, as long as it doesn't face the sun because it covers by the pile, it's considered a sufficient one. אידמר לוי אמר 3 סין, דבר רבי ינאי אמר שעתיים, אמר יש לקיש שעתיים חוץ מן ההוצאה. So as you see here, if he is paid the expenses and the profit of 2 se'ah remains, so it's considered worthwhile to walk in the field, otherwise not. תננתם פריצי זיתים וענבים, בית שמאי מטמאים ובית הלל מטהרים. So here later the Gemara explained which one we're talking about precedes, but it's unruly olives and grapes. So Beit Shammai hold that they become susceptible to tum'ah, to ritual impurities, because they're considered food. But they said that they're not, because they are inferior quality and unfit for consumption. My precedes zetim, amar Rav Huna reshi'ei zetim, which means olive that barely produce any oil. אמר רבי יוסף, ומאי קראה, ובני פריצה עמך ינסו להעמיד חזון ונכשלו, that's פסוק in Daniel chapter 11, רב נחמן בר יצחק אמר מאחר וליד בן פריץ שופך דם. So again, this is a psukim that use the euphemism to express the lack amount of olive. וכמה פריצי זיתים, רבי אלעזר אמר 4 קרבין לקורה, ורבנאי אמר שעתיים לקורה. So again, this is the amount, they say that according to Rabbi Elazar, it's a 4 cup of oil from 1 press of the bean when the fruits are brought together with the olive press. According to Bayanai is 2 se'ah of oil from the 1 press of bean. So it's not really a disputation because we talk about different location. Here is one place that they brought one coil to the press, which one must be able to extract 4 carbs. The other ones, they brought 3. So you have a basket to place the 3. So since they bring in 3 times the amount of fruit, it must produce exactly 3 times as much oil. Tanu Rabbanan. So now we're going to a different Mishnah in Tractate Zavim, chapter 3. 105b, הלא באילן שכוחו רע ובסוכה שכוחו רע טמא. running out of time. אוקיי. היכד מאילן שכוחו רע, אמר דבר רבי ינאי כל שאין בעיקרו לחוק רובע. היכד המסוכה שכוחו רע, אמר ריש לקיש כל שנכבד בחזיונה. נתן מהלך בבית הפרס לגבי הבנים שיכול להסית על האדם ועל הבמה שכוחן רע טמא. היכד מאדם שכוחו רע, אמר ריש לקיש כל שרוחבו והרכובותיו נוקשות. היכד מבהמה שכוחה רע, אמר דברי רבי ינאי כל שרוחבה מטילה גללין. אמר דברי ינאי לתפילה ולתפילין 4 קבין. So basically the measure of 4 kav when it's come to putting tefillin or לתפילה. לתפילה מהי? נתניה, נושא מסר על גבי כתפו והגיע הזמן תפילה. Someone who carry a load and it's a time to daven, it's time to pray. פחות מ4 קבין מפשילין לאחורה ומתפלל. 4 קבין מניח על גבי קרקע ומתפלל. So it's all depend upon if it's a 4 kav, he lowers behind him and holding the prayer. As a light load of this size do not interfere the prayer, but if it's 4 kav, he places on the ground and pray. Litfilin, as far as they putting tefillin. מהי דתניא, אנו שמסר על ראשו תפילין בראשו, אם היו תפילין רוצצות אסור, ואם לאו מותר באיזה מסוי אמרו, מסוי של 4 קבין. תניא רב חייא מוציא זבל על ראשו, ותפילין בראשו, הרי זה לא יסלקן הצדדים שלו, יקשרים במתנה, מפני שהוא נוהג במנהג ביזיון, אבל ראשם עוזרו במקום תפילין. So again, you have to be careful with tefillin not to make any manner of degradation. The Rambam said in Ilchot Tefillah, chapter 5, a person who is carrying a burden when the time of prayer arrives, if the load was less than 4 kav, he lowers behind him while still holding the prayer. But if it's a 4 kav, he must place it on the ground. Otherwise, he cannot concentrate on his prayer. When it's come to tefillin, you have the Shulchan Aruch Harav Chaim, chapter 4, also in the Mishnah Berurah. If one was bearing a load on his head, he must remove his tefillin from his head until he removes the load. It is even prohibited to place a scarf in which the tefillin are kept on his head while wearing the tefillin. But he is permitted not to wear a hat or his usual headgear while wearing the tefillin as long as it's less than 4 kav. That's the Rema. And you see in the Rambam, Nilchot Tefillin, Umzuzah, Sefer Torah, chapter 4, that he said that it is permitted even when it's wearing tefillin, if he can move the burden, that's the Pri Megadim, to the side of his head so they do not touch. And this is permitted as long as the load is less than 4 kav. משום דבי שלה אמרו אפילו מטפחת שלה אסור להניח על הראש שיש בו תפילין, וכמה אמר הבאה אפילו ריבה דריבה דפומפדיטה. It's a quarter of quarter, a small amount. אמר רבי יהודה מהי קצבה בקרי, אלא אם יש בו כדי נפילה, וכמה כדי נפילה. רבי עמי אמר רבי יוחנן 14 לחור. רבי עמדלה אמר 18 לחור. אמר לאוסב לרב חמא ברי דרבא ברבוע, אסבר הלך בשני דרבי יוחנן אבא שמינא דערא. בשני דרבי עמי וכחישא דערא. So it's all depend upon the years. It was a year of famine, it was a year of prosperity. So the year of, for example, the year of Rabbi Ami, that was, the land was lean, so it was necessary to double amount of seed for each unit of the land. נענת אמרו הרוח שפיזרה את העומרים עומדים כמה לקרת ראויה לעשות, ונותן לעניים רבן שמעון גמליאל אומר, נותן לעניים כדי נפילה. וכמה כדי נפילה? How much is the amount of equivalent to measure of seed dropping in the course of harvesting? אמר רבי אלעזר ויתם רבי יוחנן 4 קבין לקור. באי רבי ירמיה, לחור זרע או לחור תבואה, למפולת יד או למפולת שברים, תשמע דחיית ערבין. אמר רבי אבוה, אמר רבי אלעזר, ואמר רבי יוחנן 4 קבין לקור זרע, ועדיין תיבא למפולת יד ולמפולת שברים, תיקו. So I would like to conclude with Khatam Sofer. The Gemarrah said that tefillin needs a guf naki. The tefillin needs a clean body. And the Gemara said, Kemo Elisha bar knafayim. Elisha that carries some types of wing. So, what is the idea? So the Gemara tells the story, it was a gzeira, it was a decree that prohibited to put tefillin. So it was a fellow by the name of Elisha, that he puts tefillin anyway. So it was a guardian that saw him. So he started chasing him, ran after him. So he ran, and he took off the tefillin, put it in his hand. So the guardian asked him, "What do you have in your hand?" And he said, "Kanfei Yonah, I have a wing of a dove." So the Gemarrah said it was a miracle. He opened his hands like magic, and it was a wing of a dove. So what do we derive from that? So we derive from that that's the idea of putting tefillin. But Tosfot asks, how exactly you learn from this story that tefillin tzrichim guf naki, that tefillin needs to have a clean body? So Tosfot said, if it was such a miracle to him, so obviously it's because he kept the clean body. But Khatam Sofer said, a question said, why he didn't take off the tefillin? Because it's obvious that the guardian saw him with the tefillin shel rosh, with the head tefillin. So if it was a miracle with the tefillin on the top of his head, so you have to say that the mitzvah tagen, that the mitzvah will protect him, and therefore you should keep it the way it is. But the feeling is, that's the fascinating thought of the Khatam Sofer. Since that fellow Elisha knew that he needs to exaggerate the truth, because this guardian will ask him, it's prohibited, and he felt that if I carry tefillin I cannot lie, so therefore he take off his tefillin. So that's the idea of nikayon betfillin, that the person should have a clean body when he wears the tefillin. So the nikayon, according to the Khatam Sofer, is not necessarily your only body, but it's also a spiritual cleansing, which means free of sin, not to lie when you are carrying tefillin on your body. And that's the reason why he called Elisha bar knafayim, Elisha, the one who carries the wing. But also the Bnei Sachar teaches also a fascinating lesson from the statement of this daf, because it seems from the Gemarrah that the land yields less or more in accordance with how much chokhmah the generation has. So we see from here, from our daf, that the year of Rabbi Yochanan, the land yield rich produce. Remember, in the years of Rabbi Ami, times the produce was poor. So Agra the Pirka said, our sages do not merely record a fact of their time. We can say that they are teaching an important rule. The land naturally yields better produce when there is a chokhmah in the generation, when it's a wisdom. The more seichel, the more proper thinking in a generation, the better produce the grounds yield.
Shula